Hi everybody, so it is still June 16th. It is the evening of my 13th day on this trip, and I am still in Sequoia. Well, actually, I'm camping in Kings Canyon, um, and Kings Canyon and Sequoia are like, they touch, and so they're like administrated as a single park, even though they're technically two different parks. So I'm like sort of up at the north end of both of them. Um, the main park is like over here, and then there's like this little offshoot of Kings Canyon, and I'm up in there. Um, and I went down into Sequoia today, and I got some pictures of some pretty flowers, and I saw a lot of the burn damage. There was a big fire here in 21, and it took out a bunch of acres of the park, unfortunately. But this ecosystem needs fire to be healthy. So the pine cones of the giant sequoia trees will not open unless there is fire. The fire is able to dry them out so that they can open and the seeds can come out and the sequoias can replenish. The fire also helps to take out some of the underbrush so that the baby sequoia trees have an easier time growing. So although giant fires like that one aren't really great, they actually do kill the younger sequoia trees. The like mature ones are they are pretty much immune. They're really, really good at healing. They're very fast growing trees, and so the fire damage might cause a little bit of damage down near the bottoms of their trunks, but they're so tall that it can't really get to their canopy, and so they're usually able to heal that damage. So, yeah, it's pretty much just the younger trees that died. Although they did, when they knew that the fire was coming, they actually wrapped General Sherman in like fire blankets to help protect it. And speaking of the pine cones, some of them are massive. This one and a few others of the same size were here at my campsite when I showed up. And I can't take this one because I am in a national park and you cannot take things from national parks. But they do like a little newspaper thing with like, here's stuff to do in the park and here's a map and that kind of stuff. And it said that you are allowed to take a few pine cones or rocks or whatever from the national forest part of the area. As I was driving through that today, I managed to get these guys, and I'm going to take them home with me. I don't know where I can legally collect one of these, so unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get to take one of these, but these are pretty great. It's you can, if you look at the bottom, you can see how they do like a spiral shape, so it's very cool. I'm excited. And after I drove into the park today, I pretty much stopped at the visitor centers. I went and saw General Sherman, which they are claiming is the largest tree in the world by volume, I guess. Although I have heard that Hyperion is a tree that is actually taller, although they don't tell anyone where it is to protect it. One of the things about the sequoias is that their roots are really shallow and they stay right near the surface. And so they don't really want people traipsing through the woods and compacting the soil, because then it's really hard for the roots to grow. So they're trying to keep people just on paths. And one of the big things that I noticed that was different about here versus like the redwoods is that in the redwoods, all the paths are elevated, and so they're like these platforms that you walk on. But here, and I assume that it's probably because I think this park is older, they have like just asphalt paths straight on the ground with fences along the sides to try to keep people on them. And so I don't know like how much that affects the growth of the trees around it. I did see as I was going through like the visitor centers, they've got lots of displays about the ecology of the area, and one of the displays was all about how when the park was first made, it was just sort of a free for all, and they were building a bunch of like almost cities in the park, and so and people could kind of go wherever they wanted, and they started to figure out in about the 20s, because this park was built in, I think it was like 1890 is when it started or something like that. But in the 20s, they started to realize that that was a big problem and they couldn't really continue on with that. So they went ahead and like tore down a bunch of buildings and changed the way the roads are, and blocked stuff off so that there was better stewardship of the land. So today, I think things are in much better shape. There's still a lot to learn. When I got to General Sherman, there was actually a ranger doing a talk, and he was just finishing it, so unfortunately I missed most of it. But he stuck around for some questions afterward, and I asked him about the mycelial networks. So recent research has come out about certain trees that have these underground fungus networks, and the trees, they know for sure that the redwoods are actually communicating through those fungal networks, which is really, really interesting. You think, oh, they're plants. How do they communicate? Well, there's a lot of ways that they actually communicate with each other, and they let each other know about, if they're stressed, if conditions are, going downhill or something like that. So he said that they haven't done as much of that research. It's a little newer here, so they don't really know for sure if they're communicating, but that there is a significant underground fungal network, which I think is just like a super cool part of the ecosystem here. So some of the other things that I noticed that were different, because like these are the two parks that have the biggest trees in the world. And so Sequoia is definitely a lot busier, not like Yellowstone levels of busy, but there are a lot more people here, and it's also a lot brighter. I don't think that's like from the fire damage. It just seems to be that there's more open space, less canopy. And I guess that kind of made it feel a little bit less magical than the redwood forest. The redwood forest is much more of a rainforest, which is like my thing. And this is more of just sort of a mountainous forest. This campground is actually at 6,500 feet, and General Sherman is at like 7,000 feet. So it's all like way up in the mountains. But apparently they don't get very much rain. They get a lot of snow in the winter, but they get hardly any rain. So it's not as thick as the redwoods are. So my personal preference is redwoods. And as for like the weather, I was at the redwoods last year about the same time. It was more comfortable, probably though, just because it was more shaded. It only got in the low 70s, but because it was more sunny, and being in the sun was like very, very warm. Like parking lots and things like that were no fun. So anyway, when I was at General Sherman, there was a tree that had fallen, and they had like carved a tunnel out of it. So I got a picture of myself standing in that. Took a few tries. There was a bunch of people walking through that I had to kind of like wait for people to leave. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that there is a tree that is a couple feet wider than I am tall, which is an impressive size for a tree to grow to. And then after I saw General Sherman, I went ahead and headed over to Lodgepole Village, which, like, there's a big campsite there. They've got a market, like a little sort of grocery store with some of the basics, and a visitor center. And I had forgotten to grab my passport book when I had gone to the museum. That was my first stop, because, well, hang on. So I had forgotten to grab my passport book, and so when I got to Lodgepole, they have the stamps there, and I was able to go into there and get my stamps to say that I was here at Sequoia. But one of the other really cool things that is better here than some of the other parks, and I think especially something like Yellowstone, they should really do this, is that they actually have a free shuttle service. So certain places in the park where you go, like there's the Giant Forest Museum, there's General Sherman, there's a bunch of the Lodgepole. You can get picked up by a shuttle and taken to other places in the park, so that you can just, park in one spot and you're not having to drive from spot to spot to spot to spot. And I think because Yellowstone is all like, 2-lane highways through the whole thing, obviously, I mean, all the parks are like that to, minimize the impact. But there's so many visitors at Yellowstone. It would be so much better if they could have, right near the entrance, like a huge parking lot where everybody parks. You get on a shuttle and then you go from place to place throughout the park. And I think that would cut down on a lot of the traffic problems that you see in Yellowstone. Like my first day in Yellowstone, I was just driving through because I had started south of it and my camp was on the north end of it. So I just drove through the park. But it took me like, I don't know, 2.5 hours or something just to drive through the park. I think there was probably a bison jam that made it take so long, but then there's also just tons of people who will just stop because, oh, there's a bear and I want to take a picture. And shuttles would prevent a lot of that. So I think other parks should take note. Anyway, so I had a late lunch at Lodgepole. They had some Wi-Fi, so I was able to get some signal and do a couple of things on the internet that I needed to do, call my mom, that sort of stuff. And I got a couple pictures of a really cute mama chipmunk that was kind of hanging around because, free food. I didn't feed her, but people drop stuff. So she was over there eating and being all cute. So then I was kind of tired, and it's, starting to get dark. Well, not really. It's like 6 o'clock now. But I went ahead and just headed back to the campsite to hang out here for the rest of the night. So later, if I get hungry, I might make dinner or whatever. But right now, I'm kind of interested in seeing the sunset. Because as I came in last night, the sun was setting, and it's, I don't know if you guys can see it over there. Let's see if we can. So, yeah, just over there, the sun sets, and I'm curious, like, if I go in that direction, what I might see and whether I can, see a big vista with a beautiful sunset. So, we shall see about that here in a couple hours when the sun gets a little lower. But there is one more interesting thing that I wanted to show you that is here at the campsite. So let me turn the camera around and take you over to the bear box. So, come on over here. Got my tent set up. Nice fire ring. So this is a box where you put your food, because there are black bears in the area, no grizzlies, but they have, like, all of their trash cans are bear proofed, although it is hard to bear proof things because the difference between the dumbest human and the smartest bear is very small. So even this one, it took me a minute to figure out how to open it. So you have to like grab this handle, and it has this opening that you have to stick on there, and then you can turn it and open, and you've got your food locked away from the bears. But there's this sign on here, and it says, store your food, whatever. But this is the one that I thought was very interesting. It says to remove baby seats from the car. When leaving, replace them securely. And I don't know why that is. Apparently, baby seats make bears interested in cars. I don't know if they think there's a baby in them and they want to eat it or what. But it may just be that babies tend to leave food in their seats, and the baby seats smell like food. But I thought that was interesting, so I wanted to point that out for you guys. So, I guess that is it for me for tonight, and I will continue to update you guys in the future. My next stop is tomorrow. I am heading up to Lake Tahoe. I couldn't get a campsite in Yosemite. The closest one I could get was at Lake Tahoe. So anyway, and Yosemite is so busy that I actually have to have like a special permit to be able to get into the park between like 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. or whatever it is. So I got one of those so that I can get in and look around and see what I can see. So yeah, I guess my next update will be from Lake Tahoe. So I will see you guys then. Bye.